This has nothing to do with the rest of the video, but can we talk for a second about how many people actually own this shirt? I've loved Kirby ever since I was a kid, being introduced through this copy of Kirby Superstar that my grandparents had. I've since played quite a few Kirby games, one of my favorites being Crystal Shards for the N64. I, however, didn't pick up any of the DS Kirby titles until recently after my brother gave me his DS collection. I don't know why I went with Kirby Squeak Squad first out of the 4 Kirby games for the DS, but at least I never have to deal with the word Squeak Squad ever again after this. It's not even hard to say, but every time I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. We're reminded when starting a new game that Kirby really likes to eat, but just as he's about to indulge in his gluttony, a speedy thief swipes it from under him and makes off with it. Kirby then starts to ponder who did he was obviously King Dedede. Yeah, okay, Kirby doesn't actually think too hard on it and heads off towards King Dedede's castle to kick his stuffing in. Which is fair. I too would go and beat the crap out of someone who stole my food. Kirby got that hashtag relatable content going on. One great thing about Kirby games is how familiar they are. With a small handful of exceptions, Kirby doesn't tend to stray too far from its platformer roots, which makes it an extremely easy series to get into. And if you played one, you'll know how to play the others. I mean, don't change what isn't broke, right? After we fill King Dedede up with ninja stars, we find out that he has no idea what K. Kirby is talking about and was more focused on the fact that his own treasure was stolen. The Squeak Squad finally make their presence known, a fatal mistake as, in a fit of anger, King Dedede grabs Kirby and throws him at the thieves. See, this is what happens when you want to gloat after stealing. You get a giant penguin throwing a pink blob at you so hard you fall down a hole. Kirby has an inventory system that lets you hold up to 5 items at a time. It's okay for the most part until you need to start collecting chests, as they'll take up to 3 slots. Some of the chests you need to run past to collect, so if you forget that your inventory is full, you get to watch the chest fall off into the pits of darkness. Also, Kirby's inventory is his stomach. Just putting that out there, not touching the obvious joke, but you know. You know. There are different collectibles in this game that don't really offer much in terms of gameplay. There's a map that unlocks a special stage filled with every power-up in the game, a medal that unlocks ghosts? Sure, and some different pictures to complete, and a sound library. I would have ignored them, but it's almost impossible for me to ignore collectibles when the game is telling me that I've missed them. Oh, hey, you missed a chest in this stage. Yeah, I know. You're okay with that? I guess. I didn't really want to have to replay that stage anyways. Okay, I'm just gonna have it not glow though, just in case you want to go back later. Oh my god, okay, fine. And just before you all thought I forgot, by far the most important collectible in the game, and the only one I actually cared about, different Kirby colors! I live for customizable things like this, so collecting them all was an absolute must. Collecting the chests are pretty easy for the most part. Most of them are out in the open, while some are hidden behind easy puzzles. There are some levels where collecting all of the chests in one go aren't an option, but the levels are short enough to not make it too much of an annoyance. At the end of each level, there's a larger chest that the Squeak Squad will try and obtain before you. If they manage to get it, they'll bring it back to their hideout, where you will have to defeat them in order to get the chest. If you can reach them and hit them before they get to their hideout, it gets knocked off of them, and you can safely collect it and make a mad dash for the finish. There is, however, one chest that I had way too many issues with. Kirby wasn't fast enough to reach the chest in time, which meant smacking it out of the Squeak's paws, but I kept hitting him a bit too close to the edge, so the chest would fall off into the void. Kirby makes his way through each level and world, collecting chests and schooling the Mice Menace. Unfortunately, the levels ended up feeling very blah. None of them are that remarkable, and they all sort of blend together. With a lack of any storyline progression, it sort of left worlds 2 to 6 very samey. Not saying they weren't good, but if I can't remember any of them only a week after playing them, but can go back to Kirby Superstar years later and still recall where all of the chests in the Great Cave Offensive are, there might have been a lack of anything special in them. In World 6, they throw in a mini boss rush of sorts against 3 of the Squeak Squad members, but I don't think they thought this through all the way. I didn't have too many issues with the world bosses for the most part, a few mistakes here and there, but nothing that made me want to stop playing. However, I can say with absolute certainty, the Firebird in World 5 sucks. Cue montage. Okay, I really don't think the strategy is to just keep throwing your pink flesh body at the bosses until it takes pity on you and keels over, but I just wasn't about to start studying the behaviors of Kirby bosses. Besides, at the end of the day, no matter how many Kirbys were lost, I'm the one with their boss trophy. The only other boss I started to get tired with was the main mouse over here, but after realizing that the tornado ability is completely OP when fighting him, he became a lot easier. This ability makes you practically invincible, and with almost no cooldown, you can just keep spamming it over and over until the boss goes down. It is absolutely incredibly cheap, but I didn't come here to play fair. Oh god, finally a cutscene. Kirby is in arm's reach of the treasure chest that presumably has his cake in it, when all of a sudden, Meta Knight steals it! Without any explanation, Meta Knight runs through a door that will only open with the 5-star seals. And I couldn't actually remember if these were in chests or not, because in my need to 100% the game, I already had them all. So Kirby throws the stars at the door and chases after Meta Knight, who really couldn't have gotten too far. It was like 5 seconds. A couple of levels later, we face off against Meta Knight, who might be the most interesting fight in the game. With Meta Knight's signature defeat of lose his mask and reveal his cute face, we finally get our hands on the chest before... Look, I know Kirby is a little on the slow side, but I feel like Meta Knight screaming, "This is a cursed chest! Don't open it or you will unleash a demon! I will just buy you another slice of cake!" would have been a bit easier than trying to beat the crap out of our pink hero. So yes, the chest everyone was so intent on owning was indeed some dark evil that clearly possessed our mouse friend over here. Without a moment's hesitation, Kirby makes his way to space to get his cake. Well, when you have a goal in mind, best not to get sidetracked, I guess. Oh, so he does want to solve the mystery of the dark aura, but cake first, right? Priorities, Kirby, priorities. We finally make our way to the possessed leader and face off in probably the most difficult fight in the game. Well, unless you went to the ability room and got the tornado, in which case he's as easy as pie. Cake. But that's not the end quite yet. The dark force leaves the Squeak's body and Kirby chases after it with the triple star to do one final showdown and finally get his cake back. This final boss was incredibly lackluster. I can't even say he had any cool moves. The fight right before Dark Nebula was a more interesting final fight than this souped up version of Krakow. There's no second form, no special thing, just one form and he's down for the count. Not exactly the most intimidating evil Kirby has ever defeated. You'd think having everyone think you're a piece of cake up until the end of the game would make the ruler of the underworld try a little harder, but maybe he was having an off day. I can't judge, we all have them. At the end of these shenanigans, the Squeaks decide to look for treasure somewhere else, and Peace starts returning to the land. And as Kirby ponders where his missing strawberry shortcake went to, I can't help but realize all Kirby wanted was to eat his cake, and he just happens upon the ruler of the underworld? Imagine opening the fridge for some food and suddenly, bam! Oh look, it's Satan! After credits roll, Kirby finally gets his tasty cake. An apology from the Squeaks for all of the trouble they caused, presumably. Kirby doesn't really care that much though, because he's got cake to eat! With strawberry shortcake in our collection, our game is now 100%, which unlocks extra mode, which I didn't actually look into. You also unlock the endurance run, which has you run through each level as fast as you can, and I'm done playing. I don't think Kirby Squeak Squad is going on my top 5 Kirby games of all time anytime soon, but for the most part, it's an enjoyable game. I don't think I'm ever going to play it again, but at least I didn't have to suffer this time. Also, if the Squeaks sent this cake, what happened to the cake in the bubble? I need answers, Kirby.